You have an Amazon Prime account. You probably cannot remember exactly when you got it or exactly what it costs. You just have it. It renews automatically. And somewhere in the back of your mind, you feel like not having Amazon Prime would make your life slightly more difficult. More friction, slower delivery, something missing. You have ordered something from Amazon in the last 30 days. Probably the last 7. Maybe yesterday. And here's the thing almost nobody knows about the company you use more than almost any other company on Earth. Amazon does not make money selling you things. The store, the thing you use, the thing you think of when you think of Amazon, the thing that delivers a package to your door the next morning, is not where the money comes from. The money comes from something most people have never thought about. Something invisible. Something that powers Netflix when you stream it, Airbnb when you book it, and the CIA when they run classified operations. Something Jeff Bezos built in a garage in Seattle in 1994 that nobody, not Wall Street, not his competitors, not the analysts who called his company Amazon.bomb, saw coming. This is that story. In 1994, Jeff Bezos was 30 years old and working at a hedge fund on Wall Street called D.E. Shaw. He was good at his job. He was being paid well. He had a clear career path in front of him. By every conventional measure, he was exactly where a 30-year-old with his credentials was supposed to be. Then he read a statistic that changed everything. Internet usage was growing at 2,300% per year. Not 23%, not 230%, 2,300% per year. Bezos read that number and understood immediately that he was looking at something that had never existed before. A technology growing so fast that the people who moved first would have an advantage that could never be recovered by anyone who waited. He called it regret minimization. He asked himself, when I am 80 years old and I look back at my life, will I regret not trying this? The answer was yes. The decision was made the same day. He quit his job. He told his wife, Mackenzie. She said she was in. They loaded everything they owned into a car and drove across America from New York to Seattle. Mackenzie drove the entire way. Bezos sat in the passenger seat with a laptop and wrote the business plan as the country passed by outside the window. They arrived in Seattle. They rented a house. Bezos set up his first office in the garage. His desk was a door he bought at Home Depot and placed on top of 4 wooden sawhorses. The door desk cost $60. He would keep making door desks for years, even as Amazon grew into a billion-dollar company, even as the offices filled with hundreds of employees. Bezos kept making desks from doors to remind the company that frugality was not a phase. It was the culture. He needed a product to sell online. He made a list of 20 possible categories. He narrowed it to 5. He chose books. Not because he loved books, because books were the perfect first product for an online store. There were 3 million books in print at any given time, more than any physical store could ever carry. Books did not spoil. Books were the same everywhere. You did not need to try them on. You did not need to see them in person. And there was a book for every human being on Earth. The books were never about books. Amazon launched in July 1995. In the first month, it sold books to customers in all 50 states and 45 countries. Bezos understood from the beginning that he was not building a bookstore. He was building something he called the everything store. A store that sold every product ever made to every person on Earth with a level of convenience that no physical store could ever match. But to get to everything, he needed to start with something. Books gave him the infrastructure, the logistics system, the warehouse network, the customer relationship, the website, the payment system, the delivery partnerships. Everything Amazon would eventually use to sell electronics and clothing and furniture and groceries. All of it was built first to sell books. By 1997, Amazon had gone public. By 1998, it had expanded into music and DVDs. By 1999, it was selling electronics, toys, home improvement products, and software. The store was growing so fast and so wide that Time magazine named Bezos Person of the Year in 1999. And then, everything almost ended. In 2000, the dot-com bubble burst. Technology stocks that had been valued at impossible multiples suddenly had nowhere to hide. The market crashed. Companies that had been worth billions were worth nothing overnight. Investors who had poured money into internet companies wanted it back immediately. Amazon stock went from $113 per share to $5.51. Not a dip, not a correction, a 95% collapse. From $113 to $5.51 in less than 2 years. The headlines were brutal. Amazon.bomb. The analysts who had praised Bezos were now writing obituaries for the company. Lehman Brothers, the same investment bank that would itself collapse in 2008, published a report saying Amazon's bonds were worthless and the company was heading toward bankruptcy. Bezos did something that nobody expected. He printed out every negative article, every analyst report predicting failure, every headline calling Amazon dead, and he pinned them to bulletin boards around the Amazon offices. Not to demoralize his team, to motivate them. He told them, every single person who wrote these articles will be proven wrong. Every analyst who said we were finished will look back on this and wish they had bought our stock at $5. We are going to prove them wrong, not by arguing with them, but by building something they cannot imagine. Amazon came within weeks of running out of cash entirely. Bezos flew to Europe and raised enough money from investors to keep the company alive through the winter. They survived. And what came next was the thing nobody saw coming. In 2005, Amazon launched Prime. $79 per year, free 2-day shipping on everything. Wall Street thought it was insane. Every Prime member would cost Amazon money on shipping. The math did not work. Analysts called it a giveaway, a desperate move, a sign that Amazon was more interested in growth than profit. Bezos knew something the analysts did not. When a person pays $79 upfront for a membership, their psychology changes completely. They have already committed. They have already paid. Now, every purchase decision is filtered through one unconscious question. Should I buy this somewhere else, or should I use Amazon and get my money's worth? The answer is almost always Amazon. Prime did not sell free shipping. Prime sold psychological commitment. It turned Amazon customers into Amazon loyalists by making every alternative feel like a loss rather than a choice. The numbers proved it immediately. Prime members spent more than twice as much on Amazon as non-Prime members. They bought more categories. They bought more frequently. They returned less. They complained less. And once someone became a Prime member, they almost never left. Today, there are 200 million Prime members worldwide. The subscription generates approximately $35 billion in revenue per year before a single product is shipped. The shipping costs money. The Prime membership more than covers it. And the loyalty it creates is worth more than any individual product Amazon has ever sold. But Prime was not the real genius move. The real genius move was something Bezos started building at almost exactly the same time. Something so different from selling books or offering free shipping that most people at Amazon thought he had lost his mind. In 2002, Amazon had a problem. Its engineers were spending enormous amounts of time and energy building the same basic infrastructure over and over again. Every new Amazon product, every new website feature, every new internal tool required the same foundation: servers, storage, computing power, databases. Bezos looked at this problem and saw something nobody else in the industry had seen. Every company on Earth had the same problem Amazon had. Every startup, every enterprise, every organization that wanted to build technology was spending enormous resources building infrastructure before they could build the actual thing they wanted to build. It was like having to construct the road before you could drive on it, every time, for every trip. What if Amazon rented the road? Amazon Web Services launched in 2006. The idea was simple. Amazon had already built the most sophisticated computing infrastructure in the world to run its own store. Other companies needed the same infrastructure but could not afford to build it themselves. Amazon would rent it to them, by the hour, at a fraction of what it would cost to build. A startup in a garage could now access the same computing power as a Fortune 500 company for $50 a month instead of $50 million. The first companies to use AWS were startups, then larger companies, then enterprises, then governments. Today, Netflix runs on AWS, Airbnb runs on AWS, NASA runs on AWS. The CIA has a $600 million contract with AWS. LinkedIn, Facebook, BBC, Adobe, BMW, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, all running on Amazon's servers. The store you use to buy shoes is the same company that powers the classified operations of the United States government. In 2015, Amazon was required to break out AWS revenue separately in its financial reports for the first time. Wall Street had assumed AWS was a minor side business, a nice addition but not material to the overall company. The numbers that came out stopped people cold. AWS represented approximately 10% of Amazon's total revenue. It represented more than 70% of Amazon's total operating profit. The store that everyone used, the thing that delivered packages to 200 million Prime members, was barely profitable. The cloud business that almost nobody thought about was generating the vast majority of the money. Bezos had a name for how the whole system worked together. He called it the flywheel. He drew it on a napkin in 2001, during one of Amazon's darkest periods, when the stock was at $5 and the analysts were writing obituaries. It worked like this. Lower prices attract more customers. More customers attract more sellers who want to reach those customers. More sellers mean more selection. More selection attracts more customers. More customers mean Amazon can invest in infrastructure that makes delivery faster and cheaper. Faster and cheaper delivery attracts more customers. The wheel spins. Every part of the system makes every other part stronger, and the faster it spins, the harder it becomes for anyone to compete with it. But here is the part Bezos understood that most people running businesses never figure out. The flywheel works because Amazon was willing to not make money for years. Every time the company generated profit, it immediately reinvested that profit back into the flywheel. Lower prices, more warehouses, faster delivery, more technology. For years, Amazon's profit margin was essentially zero by design. Bezos was not trying to make money in the short term. He was trying to make the flywheel spin so fast that by the time anyone else tried to compete, the gap would be impossible to close. It worked. Here is what the flywheel produced. Amazon processes approximately 66,000 orders per hour. That is 18 orders per second. Every second of every day. Amazon's fulfillment network, the warehouses, the delivery vans, the last-mile logistics, is larger than the U.S. Postal Service. Amazon now delivers more packages in the United States than FedEx. AWS powers approximately 33% of all cloud computing on Earth. The next two largest competitors, Microsoft Azure and Google Cloud, combined are smaller than AWS. Amazon's advertising business, which barely existed 10 years ago, now generates more than $40 billion per year. It is the third largest digital advertising platform on Earth, behind only Google and Facebook. And all of this traces back to a door on 4 sawhorses in a Seattle garage and a man who read one statistic, 2,300% growth, and decided the next day that he would rather regret trying than regret not trying. Here is what the story of Amazon actually teaches. Amazon understood something about business that almost nobody else has figured out at the same scale. The thing customers see is not the business. The business is the infrastructure underneath the thing customers see. McDonald's customers see a burger. The business is real estate. Nike customers see a shoe. The business is identity. Starbucks customers see a coffee. The business is belonging. Apple customers see a phone. The business is identity. Netflix customers see a show. The business is the 15 seconds after the show. Amazon customers see a store. The business is the cloud that powers half the internet. In every case, the company understood that what customers pay for is not where the money comes from. The visible product is the mechanism. The invisible infrastructure is the business. And Amazon took this insight further than anyone before it. Because Amazon did not just build the infrastructure for its own store, it built the infrastructure for everyone else's store too. It built the infrastructure for everyone else's business. It built the infrastructure for the internet itself. You use Amazon to buy things. Amazon uses you to fund the servers that run the world. Jeff Bezos drove across America in 1994 with a business plan written on a laptop while his wife drove. He built a desk from a door and 4 sawhorses. He started with books because books had 3 million SKUs and no spoilage. He built the logistics to sell books. Then he sold everything. Then he charged the world to use the logistics he built to sell everything. The store was never the point. The store was the proof of concept. And the proof of concept became the most powerful commercial infrastructure on Earth. In 1994, Lehman Brothers would have told you Jeff Bezos was making a mistake. In 2000, they told you Amazon was going bankrupt. In 2006, they would have told you renting server space was not a real business. Today, Amazon is worth approximately $2 trillion. AWS alone, the server business that nobody thought was real, is valued at more than the entire GDP of most countries on Earth. And somewhere right now, in 190 countries, on 200 million Prime accounts, at 18 orders per second, the flywheel is still spinning. Not because Amazon sells better products than anyone else, Because Jeff Bezos understood that the most powerful business is not the one that sells you things. It is the one that makes it impossible for the world to function without it.